Hello, 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 and welcome back, you guys, to another inspiring conversation. Today, we are excited to feature Lashay Broomer, founder of LN Creative. Now, Lashay's journey from empowering women through plus size fashion blogging to creating a social media marketing agency is a testament to resilience, creativity, and authenticity. She has transformed her personal challenges, into a thriving business that helps others brands helps other brands grow while staying true to her mission of self-love and empowerment. So get ready to hear Lashay's powerful story and insights into entrepreneurship and representation. Hello, Lashay.
Hi, how are you?
I'm awesome. How are you today?
I'm good. I'm very excited, so I'm doing good.
Well, we are excited to have you. So,
Thank you.
my first question to you is, tell us about LN Creative and what it is that you do for others.
Yeah, so Ellen Creative. My name is Lashay Nuria Monet, so that's what the LN stands for. Creative because I've always been creative. It's a social media management agency, so I help businesses who are overwhelmed with sticking to a consistent schedule. They want to grow their brand and really build that brand awareness and really build really a community. I really focus on value, authenticity, and building the community over building a big following. So that's really what I stand on. So I like to work with service-based providers, med spas, people in fashion, people who are coaches, therapists, lifestyle, kind of mental health, very proactive with that. So yeah, I just like to help brands elevate their content in a very like valuable and engaging way.
Okay, now how does LN Creative help businesses establish an authentic presence on social media? And what specific strategies do you use to make your clients stand out?
Yeah, that's a good question. So for me, I like to see where a client's at first, of course, and then see what we could work on. And I find that a lot of good strategies that have helped is implementing a strategy that works to their target audience. A lot of people sometimes they are trying to cater to everyone in a wide network instead of narrowing down like who their ideal person or who their ideal customer or client that they want to, make their a customer. So
Mhm.
for me, I really focus on the buyer persona, the demographics of the psychographics also, which is really huge. A lot of marketing has to do with psychoanalytics and really how we operate when we purchase things and how we operate when we follow someone. And I like for brands to really focus on being personal because a lot of times it's very cliche, but people don't buy from businesses because of the product or the service. They buy because of the person a lot of
Yeah.
times. 9 out of 10, you're buying because of how someone made you feel, because of their personality and what you've seen from them. So I help businesses really show their authentic selves and really, build that value-based content, value-based community, and really strategically get their messaging out and really like tailor their messaging. Because that's really a lot of the times I find that businesses also don't know how to message to the right people. So we really refine that and make sure that they're hitting their target audience.
Okay, now as a Black woman in the competitive marketing industry, how do you leverage your perspective and experiences to connect with a diverse audience?
That's a good question. For me, I feel like focusing on like your superpower and what makes you you is a good way to like stand out as far as like reaching people and being in a saturated industry. Of course, these days any industry is going to be saturated. I feel like that's just a sign that the market's there. So I try to
Hmm.
focus on the positive aspect of it, and then for me, I try to rely on like what are my values. And before I had the agency and I was creating content, the values stay the same. I'm big on being transparent, and that a lot of my community I built loved my transparency. So I just brought that over into my business, and that's how I stand out and kind of like reach a broader network is by being very transparent, being very authentic. Letting people know when I lost a client, when I failed, a time I failed in my business. So I kind of use that as my superpower.
Okay. Now, what unique challenges have you faced as a Black female entrepreneur, and how have those experiences sort of shaped the way you approach your business now?
Definitely feel like inclusivity is a struggle I face as a Black person starting a business, having a business, running a business. I've feel like the biggest struggle is when I've networked, like gone to networking events. It's very as much as people like say, oh, like, like people are welcoming, it's very uncomfortable and unsettling being in the all white space. To be honest, I went to a lot of events where I'm at locally, and there's not a lot of diversity, and I was the only minority there. And I was not approached. No one talked to me. I kind of had to be the one to go up to people, and even then they felt they didn't really want to like interact. So I had to kind of like break that barrier, and I found like that's the biggest challenge. And for me, like, to push through that, I just really be outspoken. Like, you have to be the one to make that initiative. And even if people have their biases, or maybe they're not, maybe they just aren't used to, talking to a lot of diverse people, and they're so used to being in their bubble, you have to kind of like break that wall down, because at the end of the day, like, you got to put yourself out there. So that's been like the biggest hurdle, is that lack of diversity within networking.
Okay, now in our pre-interview, you mentioned struggling with job anxiety before becoming an entrepreneur. How
Oh
did
yeah.
those experiences influence your decision to create a business that aligns with your strength and passion?
Oh yes. Oh my goodness. I had literally like over 30 jobs. I'm not kidding you. I don't know where it stemmed from. I was working at a bank in 2015 for 2 years, and I was a bank teller. And 2017 I quit to become a cosmetologist at the time. I always wanted to do everything creative. So that was at the time I was 21. I was trying things, but for some reason, when I started going back to like corporate regular jobs, because I realized I didn't like the makeup field, the job anxiety came out of nowhere. I don't know if it's because I left a stable job and maybe started having some imposter syndrome. But the jobs I would work, I would quit like literally after training, and it was time to like start, I would quit. Like, I would be so panicked on the floor, or if I worked like a call center, I would quit day one. Like, I had just been through the ringer. So I realized that when I went to marketing and started working in the field of like social media, I felt so in alignment because I didn't have any anxiety. The first role that I had was 2020, when I started actually working in my career. I was a communication coordinator, and I finally was able to keep it. I was there for a little bit over a year, and there was no anxiety. Had no trouble going to work. And that's when I realized I was in alignment with what I wanted to do. I think the other jobs I was always doing, like call center work, a lot of customer service, which, I love talking to people, but being very like salesy and answering phones, but people who are rude, it can take a toll on your mental health. So
Yeah.
I have realized that the anxiety was because I wasn't in alignment. So once I started working in my career field, I'm like, you know what, I can do this for myself.
Okay. Now, how have you prioritized your self care and set boundaries so that they contribute to your success as both a business owner and a full time marketing professional?
Yeah, I'm very big on boundaries and self-care. Like, for me, I take social media hiatuses all the time, and I know it's like,
Hmm.
what, business, but a lot of my stuff is automated and scheduled, so I can take like a weekend off. But for me, I prioritize my evenings and my Sundays to just like, you know, shut off the world. Sundays, especially Sundays, like, I really just like, I don't go on my phone a lot. I try to finish client work during the week and evenings in the morning so that I can have that slow Sunday. But it really makes a difference, like not being on your phone and being overloaded with information. And reading, I'm a really, really, really big book lover, love books, so I like to read. That's my escapism. I'm not really big on like shows and like TV shows and Netflix, but I'm a big book reader. I love watching YouTube videos on like self empowerment, motivational videos. So I just have those type of boundaries, and I and those like type of self care, like, and like making sure that I'm not answering things that aren't urgent. And usually a lot of times I don't get messages at certain hours where it's like super late, but if I do, I get back to people in the morning, and that's like kind of like one of my boundaries.
Okay. Now, how do you ensure LN Creative reflects your values of self love, empowerment, and authenticity in the content and strategies you create for your clients?
Yeah, that's a good question. So for me, I really try to implement who I'm speaking to, and knowing who I want to watch my content. I don't want to be so broad that I'm reaching like everyone, to where I have people who are inactive, and they're not following, they're just watching. Like, so for me, I focus on like like, of course I'm going to post my entertainment, my nurture content for like sales, because it is a business, and then I have my personable content as one of my pillars, and that's where the hone of like my content for showing my values, that's where a lot of that comes from. A lot of my community from my business on my pages. A lot of them like my personable content, and I do that because I want to nurture my current audience and nurture people who maybe want to work with me, so they can see the personable side of me. So I really like to post, like lessons I learned in business, a time that I failed as an entrepreneur, a day in the life of someone struggling with her mental health as a business owner. So for me, I incorporate that as a pillar of my content, so people can show, you know, the vulnerable side of things, where I'm struggling, and also like incorporate in, how to like have a good morning routine. I just did one today, like my morning routine as a, social media manager. That's part of my self-care. I have a slow morning. I take an hour to not be on my phone. I journal, I read, I watch a podcast. So that's, I'm showing myself that love by being off my phone for a good hour or two before I start work.
Okay. So, what role would you say representation plays in your approach to creative direction and how you prioritize inclusivity in the marketing campaigns you lead?
Um, I would say the role, like my role, I feel like a very important role. I always try to be as diverse and very inclusive, and not even just like, women of color, plus size, but really like mental health, like being inclusive in that aspect. Like that's a very community that's very specific, that people may have stigmatisms against, or even just, a bit larger bodies representing myself. I play a very, very big role in that, because a lot of people, when it comes to especially content, like they don't want to show themselves because how they look. Like I got a double chin and I'm still posting. Like, so I represent, I play a really big role in how I represent and show that you don't have to wait until you lose weight to post the content. You don't have to wait until you look a certain way to start your business. I had all these excuses before, but like, like I show up and I feel good about myself. And I feel like for me, that's what I try to tell people who I work with. Like, show yourself and don't wait for perfection, because people don't want to,
Right.
they don't want to see perfection anyway. So I really try to be inclusive with how I look, my shape, and putting myself forward no matter like how I look, knowing that like, I gained some weight, but yeah, I'm showing up.
I love it. I love it. Now, what impact do you hope LN Creative will have on social media marketing, the social media marketing industry, particularly for Black-owned businesses?
Oh yeah, especially for Black owned businesses, I feel like the traction is so much harder to gain, as we've all seen people posting on, TikTok, Instagram, about how harder it is for Black creators to grow their accounts. So for me, I
Mhm.
like to really focus that again on that community, that, don't focus on that our, non-minority peers are growing and have, they're getting to 1 million. Like that's great and all, but like, I get clients and sales and I have under 1K. I took 2 years on social media, so that played a big part in it, coming back to Instagram. But even so, like I removed like I removed friends, family, I removed so many accounts, and I got to like 300, and then I went up to like where I'm at now, six something in like a month. And I didn't care about the follower account, or that I wasn't growing as fast as my my white counterparts, which, because I know it's hard as a Black creator, I just tell people to focus on building a community, like a genuine community that's going to engage with you. So that's really what I stand for as far as like Ellen Creative. Like I stand for being personable. Like I engage with anyone who comments, anyone that messages me. I make sure I'm commenting to everyone, and that I'm really like being personable in my response. And I think that's what's lacking a little, is people wanting to focus so much on vanity metrics, but it's like that'll come eventually. But you really want to build those 1,000 true fans. That's a big. All you need is 1,000 true fans. So I'm big on having my business show a community.
Okay. Now, what lessons did you learn through your years of being in customer service that now influence how you lead and manage LN Creative?
Oh, I learned a lot. I mean, I'm not gonna lie, even though I hated working in the call center, my customer service is definitely top tier. Like I know how to talk to people. Of course, they call it like the code switching, but I really don't do that. I naturally am very like suburban, I guess. So
Hmm.
I don't gotta do a lot of code switching. This is just how I talk. But even so, like I'm very personable. Customer service really taught me how to, one, be empathetic, put yourself in someone else's shoes. A lot of times when people are irate or upset, it's not personal. They're lashing out, so you can't take it personal. And in
Yep.
business, I learned that too. Someone actually once told me when I first started, they were like, take the emotions out of it. And they were just so blunt with it. I was like venting in a Facebook group and they were like, take the emotions out. I was like, oh, I like you. They didn't even console me and say, oh, it'll be okay. And I'm like, oh, that makes sense. So that's what customer service taught me. Like, take the emotions out of it, be empathetic. Don't meet people at their level. I really learned that. When you're in a restaurant, someone's being rude or snappy, or you're on a line and a cup, someone's being like,
Mm-hmm.
irate. And a lot of workers back in the day, I would see my coworkers, they meet them at their level, and it's like it's never gonna go anywhere. They're gonna, next thing you know, they asking for a manager.
Yep.
How you actually turn it around is kindness. I swear it works. When you kill people with kindness, I used to be on the phone, people cursing me out. I was the most polite. I am so sorry. I understand. I'm gonna do anything I can. I would be blowing them away, had them apologizing to me at the end of the call. People always end up apologizing. Most irate customers. So
Yep.
that it really taught me people skills, like how to talk to people, how to connect with people, and how to really make that connection. And that's really how a lot of the times I've started working with people, was really because of my personality and like being very personable with them.
Now, what steps have you taken to overcome that self doubt and develop confidence in your skills and abilities as a business owner?
Oh yeah, I've taken a lot. So for me, I'm big on journaling. I'm a big journaler.
Mhm.
I write affirmations. So I did them today. I did them yesterday. I kind of do them every day. Sometimes I don't, but what I definitely do my affirmations. Tell myself like I am capable. I'm going to be successful. Financial freedom is on its way. So that's a really big way I've combated self-doubt. And then also, and I don't know who I learned this from, but it could have been like a therapist in the past, but they say look at the proof. And when you look at the proof of things, it really puts things in perspective. So if I'm like sometimes having self-doubt, like, oh, like can I run a business? Like, can I get clients? I'll look at like when I first started the first client, I'm like, well, that's proof right there. It works. So like
Yep.
always go back to the proof. Like, or sometimes people feel like they can't be an entrepreneur, but then you got or they don't have a lot of customers, but you had a first customer, so that's the proof that you can do it. So I always go back to the facts.
I love that. Now,
Yeah.
how do you balance your personal vision with the practical needs of running a business, particularly as a creative director?
That's a good question. I mean, I'm very organized. That's the biggest. Like, I'm a journal girl, paper and pen and digital. I like to organize. I use really like project management tools to like really lay out my personal life and business goals. So I think that's the biggest thing for me. Like, I have a checklist every single day. That's the one thing I am consistent with. Like, I have to have a to-do list every morning or every night. I write it of what I want to do the next day, what things I have to do. So for me, I just really prioritize being organized, writing my goals down. I have like a template of like every month I have goals, and I check them off. If I did them, if I didn't hit it, I move it to the next month. So I kind of like stay organized in that sense of like separating personal and business, and making sure that I'm meeting my metric. So that's kind of like my routine.
Okay. Now, how do you hope your business will inspire and empower others, especially young Black women, to overcome trauma and pursue their goals?
Oh, that for sure, a lot. I mean, I came from the trenches growing up. I mean, like I've lived in shelters, I've lived in hotels as a child, witnessed a lot of domestic violence, I was abused as a child. So when I tell people like you can come out of your trauma and your obstacles that you face, that's the biggest thing I advocate for, is that like if you are starting a business and you feel like, don't let the things you've been through dictate who you can become. I think that's the biggest thing. I used to have like the victim mentality mindset sometimes of like, oh, I've been through so much, I'm never going to succeed. I'm just meant to be, generational curses. Like no one's in my family, they're all struggling. So it's just meant to not meant to be. So for me, I just tell other Black women like you can become more than like who you are. Don't let your story dictate who you are. Like it's so cliche, and I promise people like I've been there. Like I really thought I would be nothing but my trauma, but once you like get past that hump and you start seeing progress, like you become more than your story. And that's what I really like to tell people to like focus on, is the person that they want to be, not what happened to them.
I like that. Okay. Now, How do you navigate the challenges of being a Black woman in an industry where representation at leadership levels is still very limited?
Oh, I mean, I've working in a marketing agency. It was, of course, I'm literally again the only minority.
Yeah, that's why that's why I said that. Like, I know in the marketing industry
It
there
is
was, yeah.
so, yes, it's so lacking. Like, especially local agencies who, who bring people on. And I'm a content strategist, so I still work my 9 to 5 as I work at a marketing agency and I have my own, and it's night and day. I'm the only black woman, black person, and at first, I'm not gonna lie, when I started, I was uncomfortable because the last job I left, where I was a communication coordinator, I was again the only black person. So it kind of like it was getting to me. I was getting frustrated where I was like, I'm tired of this. Like, and that kind of inspired me to start my own on the side. Like,
Mm-hmm.
I'm like, I just can't do this. Like, I want to work with more people who look like me. I granted, I'm grateful that I don't feel uncomfortable where I'm at. Like they're very inclusive with how they talk to me. But again, you can't hide the facts. You can't hide the facts that you're lacking some DEI.
Yeah.
you're lacking, like maybe I'm that first hire. And for me, what really gets me through it is knowing that I'm working on something that's my own. Like it said, like I again love my coworkers and everything, but that's really like what inspired me is that I don't want to always keep being the only black person. And as far as like being there, I really focus on my work. I'm
Okay.
telling you, like, you don't gotta like make best friends there. Be nice. I'm very nice. I'm how I am right now is how I am with my coworkers. That's what I focus on. As long as I'm personable and I'm respectful, I just do my job. I do my job. That's really how I kind of navigate that.
Okay. Now, in your own business, what steps do you take to create a supportive and welcoming environment for the businesses you work with, especially those that are minority owned brands?
Yeah. So for me, I always have calls first, and I think that's the best way to have icebreakers. I think that's the biggest way to really like show if you are a good fit with someone and to make them feel comfortable. So that's always the first step. I meet with people on a call, on a Zoom, Google Meet call, and I'd never just jump in about, okay, like, what are you looking for? Like, I just try to make it very like engaging and authentic, and tell me about yourself. What do you currently do? Where'd you go to school? I really try to focus on making people feel welcomed and making it feel authentic. So that's really my approach as far as like that support. Like I like to start everything with the call. Like some people want to be texting and emailing, the antisocial, where I'm like, no, let's meet face to face, some type of face to face, and get to know each other.
I like that. I do. That's very personable of you. So,
Yeah.
what legacy do you want LN Creative to leave, not only for your clients, but also for other Black women who are aspiring to succeed in entrepreneurship?
I do think about the legacy question. I feel like I always go back to the hardships. Like the legacy I really want to leave is that you can get out of your hardships. I mean, when I tell you like from a childhood to like 25, it was nothing but hardship. I was on my own at 18, 19, and I mean, instability was my middle name. Like again, I was job hopping, I was late on bills, I was losing friends, because my mental health was like so up and down. Honestly, I didn't know how to be a good friend at the times. I was going through my own issues, and I was losing apartments, behind on rent. Like I was just always honestly struggle was my middle name, to be honest. So my legacy is like really for people to know like you can get out of your hardships. Like it does not have to be your end story. Like it's not my end story. Like it seems so hard when you're in the moment. Like it really be feeling like I'm never gonna like get out of struggling. Like it truly does. Like I've been there. So my goal really is for people to know that I know what politics right now, especially right now, it feels like a step back. Like, life is just so hard. But I want people to remember, like, as long as you are working hard and you're trying, like, you will get out of your obstacles and your hardships.
Listen, love, if you all are out there and you heard what she said about if you feel like this in politics was a step back, don't look at it that way, because what I've been telling people is talk to your parents and your grandparents. They've been through this
Yeah.
before. You have to remember, we're not that far removed from the civil rights movement.
Nope.
So we have to just look at the things that we've already overcome, implement some of those things again, and we will get through the next 4 years.
Yep, that's literally how I think about it. Like the 4 years ago or 8, or whenever the last time he was president, I it may sound ignorant to some because of course I care, and it's affecting everyone who's a minority and lower income class, middle income class. But I wasn't as hurt because I would thought the same thing. I'm like, our parents and grandparents, they've been through it and worse, and they're alive still, and they got past it.
And that's really like when I see people having a fit about all of this. I was born in 1980, so I went through Reaganomics. I'm used to this type of stuff. And then you have to think about, if we're as resilient as we say we are, we learn from, not to be funny, but trauma is passed down from generation to generation. We're still holding on to trauma from 6 generations ago, which means we're also still holding on to the know-how and how to get through times like this.
Exactly. Yep. That's all I think of.
Yep. So what's your vision for LN Creative? What's next for you? How do you hope that you guys will shape the social media marketing industry?
I definitely want to scale for sure. Work with industries that I'm passionate about, more mental health proactiveness, more plus size fashion brands. I really want to work with more industries, and more, creators in that aspect, and even collaborating with other entrepreneurs, Black women entrepreneurs. Like, I love networking with, the Black people who are doing, business and entrepreneurship. So, so that's my next goal, is to really scale and get within those spaces. I really would love to be on a panel. That's my goal for this year. I want to speak, share my story, motivate people. So that's really what my main goal for the business is, to be on the panel.
Okay. So what I'm going to do is I'm going to drop off the screen. And what I want you to do is I want you to tell people where they can find you, how they can get in touch with you, where you're located. Do you have a website?
I'm in a rebrand, actually.
Okay, because I was getting ready to say, I know I'm not crazy. I thought I looked on your website. I usually try to put people's website going across the bottom of the screen. But
I'll still say it because I have someone working on it right now, but I'll still say it.
Okay, I'm going to drop off and you tell everybody where they can find you.
Okay, so you guys can find me on Instagram at LN Creative Co. My Facebook page is also LN Creative Co. My Facebook personal page is Lashay Broomer. I also post a lot of my business tips there. My website is LashayNaria.com. That's LashayNaria.com. And I am on TikTok at Lashay Naria. That's where you can follow me. But I'm most active on my Instagram, again, LN Creative Co.
Awesome, you guys. So listen, go out there and find Lashay, especially you Black-owned business owners, so that you can help give her some of your business as well. So Lashay, I just want to say, first of all, thank you for allowing us to highlight you this month on Dear Black Woman. So we are looking forward to see what comes next for you, okay?
Thank you. No, I want to thank you. I'm very appreciative. I appreciate it. I'm very appreciative.
Well, thank you guys for listening, or for joining us for this incredible conversation with Lashay Broomer of LN Creative. Her story reminds us of the power of authenticity, perseverance, and believing in your vision. To learn more about Lashay and her work, visit her website or connect with her on social media. Now, until next time, you guys, stay empowered, stay authentic, and continue to pursue your dreams.